Hello everybody, it's Matthew, or meachew or Peach. I'm just going to be reacting to some Girisco and videos from Girisco with ambience playing in the background. So yeah, I like him a lot, and I always wanted to react to some of his videos. I might have done it before without knowing it, but it was audio only because I was either playing games or watching other stuff or doing something else, but it's okay. So yeah. Oh, wait. It's gonna echo a little bit. I think if I don't put on my Bluetooth. Okay, I should turn this up a little more. Hold on.
Imagine you cozy up in bed, finally able to relax.
Sorry, I have stuff playing in the background.
You just got a brand new copy of Mario Kart Wii for your birthday, and you're excited to try
Like my fan and queso.
You attempt to play the game. This is supposed to be fun, right?
And lo-fi. I'll turn everything up slightly. Alright, there we go.
Everything seems pretty much normal at this point. You're taking in the new sounds and atmosphere as you get used to the Wii controls. You might not be winning the race, but you're having fun.
It's pretty relaxing though.
That's weird, but maybe it's just a glitch. I mean, your parents would get a
That's what I try to make my streams. I try to make my streams relaxing so people can actually go ahead and rewatch it or listen to it in the background. Same with me. So it'll be on shorter stream, but it'd still be good.
But it would take too much effort to get up and take it out, so you decide to keep playing.
That fan's gonna be annoying. That's weird. I also, I have my window open too.
Stolen software? Like a pirated game?
So, it should be okay. This video isn't that long. It's only like 13 minutes. And then after that, I'll go to another video. Maybe the Mario one.
I know that Izzy's already covered this topic very well. However, I've wanted to cover this subject
I don't know.
for a long time, so why not now? Make sure to follow my social media link below, and of course, thanks for watching the video. Real anti-piracy screens are the best place to start. And speaking of Izzy's, it's thanks to their video that I'm able to reference these images that are very similar to the warped and much creepier fan-made versions that are on YouTube today. The first anti-piracy screen is from Donkey Kong Country 3. This screen is very ominous. I think that's the best word to describe it. The music may be dark, but it's still clearly cartoonish.
Okay, so he's talking about the Diddy Kong or Donkey Kong anti-piracy screen.
The game makes it much creepier. Not to mention the image in the background. It looks like the characters are in distress.
It's not that ominous though.
Some unseen evil that they're forced to face. Maybe I'm overanalyzing overreacting it a bit, but you can understand why this would be distressing to some. The vignette around the image also makes it feel like the characters are trapped, unable to escape from their impending doom. The next one we'll look at is from Super Mario All-Stars,
Alright.
and this is what it looks like.
Super Mario All-Stars is next.
Although it doesn't have any music or unnerving imagery, something about this screen still gives all that ominous feeling. Maybe
Kind
it's
of
because
wish
it
there
has a
was a
much
way
darker
on
view
YouTube
visuals
to
in the game,
you can
such a
pull
stark
up
contrast
chat.
throws the player off. Maybe
Is
it's
it
because
live
the music suddenly
streaming?
goes silent.
There probably
Immediately
is a
telling
way,
the
I
brain
just
that
don't
something is
know how to
seriously wrong
open
with
it
every word on the
because
screen. The top sentence is also scary, especially as a kid seeing the sentence, "It is a
because
serious
like
crime to copy
I
video
have to be
games."
watching the
Must have been terrifying.
stream
You
on one
probably
of my
think you were about to
phones,
go to
and
jail
then
or something.
it's kind of
Although
like
not as creepy
annoying
as
to
the
go
other one,
back and
this
forth
Mario
if there's
All-Stars
like a
Intent
chat
Bias
in
screen
there.
has plenty of unnerving material when you really think about it. For a final, more
But
fun
actually, I don't get a
we'll
lot
check out
of
all these basics in
streamers
Intent Bias
anyway,
screen.
so it's okay. So I don't mind it. I just do it for fun. The most
While
I
this game is already
got, I
supposed to
think,
be
on
unnerving, you can
one,
pinpoint some commonalities
like on
between
one,
this screen and
like
the old
live
ones
stream
I've
before
referenced
was like
First off,
14
we
or
have
15
Baldi himself.
viewers,
Similarly to
and I was playing
the
with
screen,
everyone
Baldi
tonight
looks
too,
very distressed and is also
which is a
facing
good
off
game.
camera,
I think it's
likely
better
towards
than the
some kind of
first one,
detective
but
dude. Another similarity
most
is how
people
dark the screen
don't
is. That
because
lack
of
of
the,
vibrancy in color shows you
I
can
guess
tell the
because
player
of the
that immediately something
campaign,
is very
but
wrong.
I'm not minding
That's a
it,
very
and
unnerving,
also
very
because like
frightening
I guess the
text is more
tool set
lighthearted than text from the
is
other games,
apparently
being
not
the
as
same
good,
story
but
coming from the,
I think
this
it's
may
still
be an
pretty
error.
good.
The final similarity, of course,
I'm
is
actually
the darker
looking
tone of music. So, based on these
forward
three
to
real
playing
Empire
other
screens,
games.
we have a pretty good gauge
There's a
to what
game
makes these
called
screens
Born
scary.
64 that's
Born,
coming
ominous
out
text.
that I'm looking forward to.
3, dark screen.
So,
Pretty simple, but let's see exactly how
whenever
this
that
made
game comes
Empire
out,
screens use these
I'm going to
aspects.
play it. And I did actually like used to like play Final Fantasy 11. I actually got it working. I managed to deal with the first boss called Play Online. But I just realized I wasn't having as much fun as I was in Neverwinter Nights, like Dungeons and Dragons Neverwinter Nights 2. And the reason why I wasn't having a lot of fun is because I don't know. I guess I didn't like it as much as Terra maybe, even though I've said before it was my favorite MMO. I think the issue I guess I have with Final Fantasy 11 is that it's not really controller oriented, and you have to constantly deal with the play online stuff. Whereas if I did something like Guild Wars 2, for example, it's much easier to deal with. And a big thing why I did like Final Fantasy 11 was because of its settings, like setting, and I mean by setting I mean like aesthetic wise. I really like the zones. I like that you can get NPC companions called Trust in the game. But I think the biggest issue is you can't play it offline. I would love it even more if you could play it offline, and there is a way to do that on a private server, but I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just play it, like deal with the issue. But maybe I guess my biggest issue is that you couldn't play it offline and you couldn't instant dungeon. I think going through dungeons over and over is pretty fun, especially if the dungeons are big enough. That's what I liked about Final Fantasy 14, and so Final Fantasy 14 I think might be a better MMO for me personally. But my favorite game is would be either Dungeons and Dragons, or it would be some type of game, either like it would be done where it would be one to where you could play it offline and online. It would be like where it would be kind of like maybe Neverwinter Nights 2, but it would be done in like Nintendo 64 graphics or the PlayStation 1 graphics, where you could
This anti-piracy screen is even more terrifying.
it's where
than the
you
last
could
one.
like
Just look
actually
realistic and listen to the ominous music.
you could run it a lot easier, and it was easier to make because the texture files wouldn't be as big nor as complicated, but it would still be fun. You could do the turn-based, or you could do, or it would be real time with pause, or it would be action RPG, and you could change that from third person to first person. It would be kind of hard to implement, but I think it could work with both, like 2 or 3 systems at least. That would also allow you to be able to have like at least 7 other party members that are doing their own thing. I would also make it to where, like, kind of like an offline MMO, kind of like Aaron Shore as well, except once you complete a dungeon, you could just instant that dungeon over and over, and you can pick like different levels, and the game wouldn't prohibit you either. What I would do is I would make a open world type of Dungeons and Dragons RPG. It would be open world where you would have a party. You could do instant dungeons, and I would make it more like a horror theme based, so it would be kind of more along the lines of Castlevania. I think would be cool. It would have limited draw distance, and the NPC members, if you got them, they couldn't die, but if, like, let's say for example, on the higher difficulties, I would make it to where if they died or something, they in battle they wouldn't stay dead, but they would stay dead for that. They would stay dead for that run of the battle, unless you had, like, let's say a revive magic or some kind of revive item. And I was thinking of maybe making it like to where the combat was a lot like Dark Souls, to where you could do parries, roll. So that would maybe be good for the action oriented. Like if I did real time with pause, it would be like Neverwinter to Nights 2. And if it was completely turn based, or Japanese turn based, it would be one like maybe Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy 13, where you have to take a turn and wait and then take another turn. But granted, because I'm thinking about it, if there's more than like three or four people, the battle system would be kind of cumbersome maybe, but Final Fantasy IV seemed to have happened very good, and that had like 5 people, so it's possible. I think it can work just fine. And my thing, so that's what I would do. So let's watch the Mario one. Okay.
Every Super Mario 64 cartridge
So
is
let's watch the
personalized.
Mario
It's a
one
concept that
now.
you've probably heard of
Super
before.
Mario
What if it was an
64's
undeniable fact?
scariest ROM hack
Imagine
by
if every time you
Curacao.
played your Super Mario 64
So
cartridge,
anyway,
something was
going
just a
back to
little bit
what I was
different.
saying before,
Well, maybe not just a little.
I would probably do real time with pause and action
You know what?
first,
I think I'll just show
because
you exactly what the most
if
terrifying
you
Super
want to
Mario
do,
64 ROM
because
hack is.
I
Check out my
just
social
realized
media and
that
second channel
I'm
link
not
below. Let's go.
so sure how well like, because it had multiplayer in it too. That and there's but there's also real time, like it's an actual RPG elements where you wait one turn and then you attack, and then it's the enemy's turn, and it's the other person's turn. Doing that like for 8 people is kind of it would be kind of annoying. But the real time pause and the action like based widget, like I would make it kind of like Terra. It's kind of like a lot like Neverwinter Nights, also with dice roll, where you just wait for your character to just act it first. And in some ways, real time with pause and turn based is the best of both worlds, because it's still action based. It's still action based, meaning things are happening at one time. Instead of taking, alternating between turns. But it's also kind of like the traditional RPG too, because you have to wait for the commands. It's just everybody is going. It's just more chaotic, because real time with pause means they're all doing the actions at once, and technically it is action oriented. But it's also traditional RPG also in terms of it's actually taking turns. It's just doing it in real time, and everybody is going at once. And some people might be doing something else, and other people might be doing something else over there, and so maybe real time with pause is the best compromise, because you don't have to technically pause it though. It's a preference, but you don't have to technically like pause it and stuff. It's pretty cool.
When loading into the outside of the castle, everything seems the same. However, if you listen, you'll notice something. Did you catch it?
So
if you didn't, I'll play the original area from the first playthrough and the current area side by side. There's a lack of wind. It's so subtle that most may not even know.
I'll watch this one instead.
In early to mid-1995, a group of people are being rushed to complete a certain game. A game that many of us know well. Super Mario 64.
Let's go. But yeah,
today
But yeah, I think, now that I think about it, I think the best compromise might actually be real time with pause, because if you wanted multiplayer and open world, turn-based RPG strategy it's probably not the best idea, because it also can allow, like, I think, cheating, because if you're facing like one boss and someone is on another quest or somewhere else and they jump in, it would feel kind of like cheating, because it's like you were about to lose or something and you didn't. But I don't know, maybe it might actually might not be too bad, because if it's just because I think the biggest question someone would have to ask themselves if there, because there are games that
Okay.
you know one person
All right.
can, like
Maybe
in a
we should go then.
traditional
Yeah, this is
RPG with multiplayer.
this is all dangerous.
You know,
The wall
player
changes
one
to the same
controls
pattern as the sky.
the main
The
character.
center
The
is
other
static.
people are
Static
there
that
just
will
for
definitely
battles,
come back up
and they're
very
just
soon.
there for
Besides that, there's not much else to note outside of the castle,
to
honestly.
pick
Which
their
means
own.
the only option is to go.
They essentially just move it up and down the cursor in battle and pick their
Let's
own.
just go this way.
They basically just pick their own
We might
option,
have to go in
but they don't actually participate in the game much outside of that. Whereas if it's more oriented towards like dungeon crawling and open world, and people can go wherever they want to, whenever they want to,
Alright.
that would be much better, and they would feel more, I think, funner and more accomplished. So, but the other thing I was thinking about is that if it was open world,
So we do.
would you level lock the zones, or because if people are in multiplayer, how would the story be ruined? Would the story be ruined and stuff? And I think there's a very simple way to do it. Yes, there would be multiplayer in the game, but you would only unlock it after you beat the game. So it would be required for both players to beat the game, and that way, if both players beat the game, then it actually they would be able to go through the whole thing, the whole story on their own, and they can appreciate it that way. And then after, they could do, whatever dungeons they want. So you would be able to queue up dungeons. It would be like at least 8 people or more if you wanted. And so there would be that. You would have an open world. You wouldn't have to queue up if you didn't want to do the dungeon. But the dungeons would be a lot harder to find versus you just queuing up for a dungeon. They wouldn't be locked behind the levels, because I believe if you're skilled enough to beat a high tier level, then you should not be locked behind that level. Like, it wouldn't be like an MMO saying that, well, you can't go to this place until the story doesn't, like, the level doesn't allow you to. I mean, maybe story-wise, I can see it being locked off, but level-wise, it wouldn't only be locked off if you didn't complete the whole story. And the other thing is that there would be a single-player story and a more multiplayer story that is more like a multiverse that expands it. So, for example, once you beat the single player and you unlock multiplayer, you would open up more zones, more towns, more shops, more levels, more dungeons. You would be able to go through that with the multiplayer story solo as well. It would just be I think it would be a lot harder, but it would still be very good, and I think that would be an awesome concession to make, so that you can enjoy it to your heart's content until you beat the game, and then you can go until you can play for multiplayer too. And multiplayer also, if you're in the open world, you can just join their game, but in the dungeon, you wouldn't be able to join the dungeon, so everybody would have to be at the dungeon at the start of the game first. At the start of the dungeon first, and then you could join them later. and that way, um, it would actually be, I think, an improvement for the dungeon because you wouldn't lose the atmosphere of the dungeon. You wouldn't feel like you got cheated because someone joined you. And I think that would work very well. And there's nothing wrong with having people like wait and stuff. At least to beat it, or at least to beat it, or you could just I don't know, you could just like start over and quit a dungeon at any time, and you wouldn't lose like any penalty. With the stuff like AI and stuff, you could artificially make it harder and scout to the players like movements and stuff without it actually making the bosses like game breaking and stuff. So that's how I would make a game. Like, at least that's my premise on it. It would be an open world. It would be an open world action slash pause RPG, and the open world anybody could join, meaning towns, but like towns or the open field or anything else. And you could go anywhere you wanted to at any time, especially after the story. You could, just for story reasons, and then people could join after. It would be based on like a horror, more horror type, Castlevania type game, like, or maybe Silent Hill and Resident Evil. It would have, you would be able to customize your character. So I think it would just be all text. It would be done in PlayStation 1 or Nintendo 64 graphics. You would be able to instant dungeons. You would basically have a lot of freedom after the game, and after you unlocked the game, or like beat the story mode, you would be able to unlock the multiplayer, and it would just scale up from there. So I think that's kind of my idea for a game. Would be a Dungeons and Dragons, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Neverwinter Nights, MMO, offline and online, or a hybrid. And yeah, I think it would be pretty fun. It would be done in Nintendo 64 or PlayStation 1 graphics. And yeah, that's it. I'm done with the stream. I just wanted to make it simple and quick and easy, and tell people about, I guess, what kind of game I would like to make. It would be like dark with ambience as well. So yeah. See you later.